The Wire is cram-packed full of phenomenal characters with questionable morality that in a simpler TV show you might be tempted to frame as the villain. But I'm here to argue that the real villain of The Wire isn't any of these characters, and that the key to understanding The Wire is understanding who or what is the real villain.
Shit, partner, you should be paying me a fee.
Most crime dramas give you someone to blame, a mob boss, a dirty cop, a man with a tragic backstory, but The Wire refuses that comfort. In David Simon's Baltimore, evil isn't embodied, it's embedded. When you first tune in, it looks familiar. Drug gangs, wiretaps, detectives, but peel it back and you find something deeper, a network of broken systems that grinds everyone down no matter their morals. Policing, labour, politics, education and media, and shows how bureaucracy, capitalism and self-interest quietly sabotage progress. So let's walk through it season by season and see how the real villain of The Wire isn't a person, it's a system. Season 1 starts with a war that most political analysts scratched at, most people with common sense would categorise as a huge failure in the United States. The war on drugs, which The Wire immediately frames not as good versus evil, but as bureaucracy versus, well, bureaucracy. The police don't want to solve cases, they just want stats. Clearance rates, not convictions, optics, not outcomes. Meanwhile, the drug trade is its own bureaucracy. The infamous chess scene says it all. Everyone plays a role, and pawns don't become kings. D'Angelo knows it, Wallace lives it. They're talking about the drug game, but most of these analogies ring true for government systems as well. Systems that are stripped of morality. You can be a good cop like Lester and still get buried in the pawn shop unit for years, and you can be a decent kid like Wallace and still get killed for stepping out of line. The lesson? The system doesn't reward justice, it rewards compliance.
When you walk through the garden.
Season 2 then pivots to the docks, revealing that the drug trade is just one cog in a much bigger economic machine. Baltimore was once a working-class port city, but globalization, automation, and outsourcing gutted it. Frank Sobotka's story is an exploration of what happens when capitalism decides that a particular cog in its system isn't worth the metal it's made with. Frank tries to save his union by bending the rules and making deals, believing hard work and loyalty still matter. But Frank's desperation and access to the docks leave him vulnerable to be taken advantage of, discarded, and eventually killed. His family around him are forever affected by the criminal world they've been exposed to. Now, it's tempting here to see the Greeks that smuggled through Frank's docks as the villains, but if Frank was never failed by the system in the first place, he wouldn't have gotten involved. It's what happens when an entire class of people is rendered economically useless. The docks didn't die because of corruption, they died because the system decided they weren't profitable anymore. Season 3 then takes us to City Hall to ask, can the system be fixed from the inside? Bunny Colvin creates Hamsterdam as a radical experiment by isolating the drug trade to a few blocks, reducing violence citywide. And it kind of works. But when the higher-ups find out, they don't see lives saved, they see a PR nightmare. The policy didn't fail because it was ineffective, it failed because it was uncomfortable to the status quo. Then there's Tommy Carcetti, the reformer who becomes the thing he swore to change. He starts idealistic but learns fast, you can't be good and get elected. The system rewards sound bites, not substance. Even Stringer Bell tries to go legit, only to be conned by real politicians like Clay Davis. Both Bunny and Stringer want change, but they forget. The system doesn't want reform, it wants control. Education gets the spotlight in Season 4, and it's devastating. The kids, Michael, Namond, Randy, Dookie, aren't just kids, they're case studies. The school system, like the Corners, runs on rules, hierarchies, and metrics, and both prepare children for their predetermined roles. Prez tries to teach, and he genuinely cares, but care doesn't stand a chance against systems that have already decided who these kids will be. Reflective of the police department and the city hall, scores matter more than transformation, data over development. Season 4, to me, is the most heartbreaking season because it shows us that kids aren't born lost, they're led there. The system doesn't just fail them, it shapes them. Season 5 then takes us to the media, and critics often dismiss Season 5 as the show's weakest, but thematically it's still sharp. Even truth is optional when the system needs something else. The media are supposed to tell the story of all this suffering, expose the corruption, and hold power accountable, but instead, it chases viewership. Scott Templeton fabricates stories and no one stops him because his lies sell papers. Management knows, but they need the illusion of great journalism. And McNulty mirrors this exact phenomenon in the police department, faking a serial killer to get resources. He isn't being noble, he's screaming into a void that no longer responds to truth. When systems become self-serving, truth becomes irrelevant. By the end of The Wire, most of the characters are gone. Dead, disgraced, or disillusioned. But the machine rolls on. New kingpins rise, stats are still duped, the next generation inherits the same script. Because the villain isn't a person, it's the system. Throughout 5 seasons, we watch as characters desperately attempt to wrestle their way out of a system which eventually beats them down. Stringer can't legitimize, Frank can't grow out of the docks, Colvin can't challenge drug legislation, Tommy can't bring morality into politics, Gus can't get the media to prioritize truth, neither McNulty or Daniels can fix the dope-on-the-table mentality of the police department, and the kids can't break free of their predetermined stereotypes. The system always wins, and you can't put handcuffs on a system.